Welcome back to another Lawyer Reacts. In this one, some people rent what appears to be an apartment or a house, something in that nature, and the electricity doesn't work. So the landlord says that he is going to fix the electricity, and then they come back a month later and all their stuff is allegedly gone. So let's see what happens. Let's see what went down.
Adam Ortiz and his fiancée Alicia Eagle. Adam says he rented an apartment from the defendant, and they moved their stuff in even though there was a problem with the electricity. The defendant promised them he would take care of the problem, so they stayed on a friend's couch for a week while he fixed it. A month later, the problem still wasn't fixed, and when they went back to retrieve their stuff, it was gone. The cops said there were no signs of forced entry. This was an inside job, and the defendant is responsible. They're suing this creep for every penny of the $4,887.96 he stole from them. This is the defendant, Michael Gambale. He says he admits it took longer than expected for the electric company to correct the problem, but it was out of his control. The plaintiffs became irate, then started saying they were robbed. He doesn't know anything about stolen items. He thinks they're making the whole thing up, and he doesn't owe them a penny. He's accused of being out of juice. He's accused of being out of juice.
All parties, please use your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff rented an apartment from the defendant. There were problems with the electricity. They left, and when they came back a month later, their stuff was gone. But the defendant says the plaintiffs trumped up the claim. It's the case of go fly a kite.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Adam Ortiz?
Yes, ma'am.
And Alicia Eagle?
Yes.
Okay, you're suing Michael Gambale, your, I guess, former landlord, for $4,887.96 for items that were stolen.
I will say the landlord does kind of have villain hair. Take that with you as you may.
Stolen from your apartment and the rent and security that you want returned to you because there was never any electricity. What happened?
Yes. Well, just to give you the summary of what's going on, in October, we were in another apartment, which was a bogus apartment.
what?
A bogus apartment.
Bogus apartment.
Yeah, meaning
It was illegal, like they couldn't rent it to you?
Yes.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the landlord, through text message, said they needed to vacate the premises by the end of October.
So you had to leave, so you rented his place?
Correct. I found his place, an ad on Craigslist.
Okay.
And everything fit so well at the time. I needed to get out, or else it was either that or being on the street.
Well, not necessarily. There are other alternatives, but okay.
Exactly. And which led us to Mr. Gambale's house, and basically.
Now, what was he renting out?
He was renting out a one-bedroom apartment downstairs in his basement. Okay. He basically first told us that the tenant beforehand had damaged.
He was in an apartment that was a bogus apartment, meaning it was probably an illegal apartment that didn't have permits. Needed somewhere to go, so then he goes and rents a bedroom in another person's basement. Also kind of seems like that might be a bogus apartment. But I understand the fact that he may be desperate and need housing and doesn't want to be homeless. So I do get that. But this apartment already sounds like it might be suspicious.
There was an electrical box that was damaged, and he needed to be replaced. That's why there was no electricity in the apartment.
So how did you see the...
Okay. You're a landlord and you have an apartment that doesn't have electricity. You should not be showing it to anyone for lease until it has electricity. Why would you rent something that really can't be, it's not habitable? If you were a tenant or a potential tenant and you find out that this place doesn't have electricity, you also should not rent it.
apartment?
Flashlights. There was
You
no.
picked out an apartment based on flashlights?
Unfortunately.
Okay. When did you expect that the electricity was going to be...
He said within a couple of days.
Right, and that didn't happen.
That did not happen.
So you're there, you move in when?
We moved in on November 1st. He said by that time, everything will be set in stone, they'll be good, and we're ready to
Alicia, let me ask you a question. Did you see the place with flashlights?
Yes.
All right, and then Were you a witness to him saying that it would be resolved in a few days?
Yes.
All right. So did you guys move in, or how are you going to move in?
We just
You can't.
moved our stuff in.
Oh, you moved your stuff in, and where'd you go?
House hopping.
Oh, to the street. Right. To the street right there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right, so then what happens? Because according to you,
So
throughout the month of November, you're
text.
checking, and there's no electricity.
Correct. It went from one extreme to another. First, it was he was waiting for the town to come and do an inspection. Then it went from, oh, the town needs an underwritten inspection sent to Lightbud be turned on.
So your stuff gets stolen.
Yes.
What is the day you realize, and how do you realize some of your stuff got stolen?
We would go back and forth to the apartment every other day to get close, so we can shower, whatever, at friend's house, family's house, whatever, you name it. We were there, I want to say, the 20th, okay?
Of November?
Of November,
And still
yes.
no electricity?
Still not.
Okay.
Okay. I'm doing a backtrack. On the 17th, I had texted Michael Gambale. Still, there was nothing that was done to the apartment. I said, listen, you have a week to put the electric on. I've already paid you. All right. If it's not done, we're gonna just cut our losses. I want my money back, and we'll go our separate ways.
And what did
That was
he
on the
say?
7th. He never responded.
Okay.
Come the 20th, I go to the apartment. All my stuff is gone.
All of it or some of it?
My electronics, my TVs, cameras, video game systems. There were
Oh, for a guy who was about to
balance.
live on the street, you got a lot of toys.
I work hard for
Well,
my
if you
toys
work
for
hard,
them.
why would you end up on the street? So you can't have it both ways.
So, were these people stupid to rent a place with a flashlight?
I think so. I think they should have waited and saw the apartment in the light.
Absolutely. I mean, that's so logical. You're not with him, are you?
No.
You seemed, honestly, like
I've never
slightly
seen him before.
smarter. Going inside the courtroom.
So basically, and that's what happened. Called the police. Okay? There was no signs of forced entry. It was an inside job. There was only 2 people with keys, myself and Mr. Gambale. And I also
What about the last tenant? Did the last tenant have keys?
Last tenant would have had a key.
Why would you not change the lock?
Well, I actually told them to change the locks.
Did he tell you to change the lock? No. Why didn't you change the lock? When you come into a new place, wouldn't you want to make sure the lock had been changed and that the last people and all of their friends and girlfriends can't come in?
I would leave it to the landlord.
Because there's actually 2 doors. One door coming in, and then there's a door to the garage, and then stairs going downstairs to which would be their apartment.
Changing locks is a tricky thing. Typically, when someone moves, you change locks. If it's like in a bigger apartment complex, usually the landlord does that because there's a master key system. So the lock has to be changed so that a master key can still open it. If a tenant then goes and changes the lock, it won't work with the master key. In this situation, it seems like it's a house with like a little unit underneath. So either one of them could have changed the locks. And, like the tenant could have changed and given the key to the landlord, vice versa. However, I can understand why the tenants wouldn't change the locks because the landlord is the one who's doing the repairs. So you would think the landlord would want to have access to the unit because an electrician has to go in there and the landlord has to go in there, to do these repairs to get the electricity back on because it's not on. So unless it's in writing somewhere who is or isn't going to change the locks or it's written somewhere in a lease, typically the landlord does change it because the landlord's ultimately going to want to have a copy of the key. Tenants change it. Not always do tenants give copies to the landlord. So typically the owner takes the lead on that.
Obviously, I don't change the outside door, but the inside door, every tenant has
I don't know
always
why.
gotten a new
It's
lock.
obvious. I would change all the locks, but in any
Well, there's a
event, go
lock. There's another lock to go into the garage, and then the lock to go to their apartment.
Do you know anything about this theft?
Actually, the back window was broken in the back of the house.
How was a window broken?
With that window was broken when we got there. He himself on several occasions said that he was going to fix the window.
Was the window broken and you didn't fix it?
Correct. I had just put in a piece of plexiglass.
What kind of landlord are you? Is this
Well,
place even legal for you to rent?
Yes.
Show me. Prove it to me.
Oh, I don't have that.
Can I ask you a question? How do you figure that you can rent an apartment that has no electricity?
Well, actually, I had made the arrangements that when they first came to see me, the security and the first month's rent was supposed to be paid. They were having trouble getting the money. They couldn't get me the money.
Why would you rent an apartment when the electricity doesn't work? And why would you not fix the window? Why would you just have a broken window in a unit. That doesn't make any sense. The landlord should have fixed the window, had the locks changed, and had the electricity before he advertised it for rent, before he collected a security deposit, before he collected any rent money. It should have been move-in ready.
So I figured it gives me a little time to get the electric turned on while they get their money together because they didn't have the money.
Wait, they had already paid you $2,400 on
they had
November
not.
1st.
They had not, no.
How much had they paid you?
They'd given me $200 up front.
And then on November 1st, they put their stuff in and they'd only given you
Correct.
$200?
Correct.
And then when did they give you the rest of it?
Sporadically.
Did they in fact end up giving you $2,400?
It was actually $2,100.
Okay. And according
'Cause
to you guys, 24, prove to me it's 24.
On text message, doesn't see how much.
When you come into court as a plaintiff, you have the burden of proof. You know what that means? That means that you guys have to prove the amount you're entitled to. You are lucky in that he says it judges $2,100. Why would you guys leave all these electronics in a place you can't live with which has a broken window, which you've acknowledged, and somebody could steal it?
I mean, if a person is in there, has their own dwellings, I mean, should they not have faith that nobody will enter if
Well,
it's
unless the
locked
window
up?
in the back is broken, which you acknowledge the window in the back was broken. So that could be a method of entry. I have no idea. If the window's broken, can somebody reach their hand in, open it up, open the window, get in?
No, that
Yes.
wouldn't.
I have a picture.
I was like that.
Yeah, bring me the picture of the window.
And the panels,
Okay.
they slide right out.
Am I going to be able to tell
Unfortunately-
based on looking at it
Yeah,
how big it
'cause
is? Is someone's hand there or anything, or a nail, or?
The landlord should have fixed the window. It's probably a fixable, easy thing to do. If windows breaking, it fixed all the time. If they hadn't moved in or signed a lease and said, hey, I'm going to fix the window before you move in. Okay, that's fine. There's no electricity. That's crazy. What I find bizarre also is that these people, there's no electricity and they move all their stuff in here, basically as storage, and then they're coming and they're going every day in and out of this place for like clothing and I guess to take a shower, what they said, or maybe they're taking a shower at it looks like they're staying at someone's mom's house. I just think it's really weird that you would move into a place that doesn't have electricity and then couch surf for a whole month. I just don't think that makes sense.
All right.
He expanded it.
Look, it's two like sliding glass windows.
Yeah, I know exactly
So they
what
pop
this
right
is.
out.
Yeah. How were they broken?
The glass is missing.
Completely?
Yes.
Oh, please. All right. Why do you think that whether it's 24 or 21, you get to keep their money when you never even provided them with electricity at the end of the day?
Actually, 2 days after they actually took their stuff out, the power was on. I was living in the house.
And you
this
didn't have
whole
power
time.
either?
No. So it wasn't like I was
What was
trying
the problem with the power?
They didn't pay the people before.
So the prior tenant hadn't paid, which means you're
And-
stuck with the bill?
Yes.
And how much was the payment?
It was like, it actually wasn't that. It was like $1,300.
And did you pay it?
Actually, I didn't have to. in the end.
Because?
Because the person who its name was in actually admitted that it was their responsibility.
So this has happened before to a client where the tenant, unbeknownst to the client, had put the utilities that were supposed to be in the tenant's name under my client's name. Then during COVID, didn't pay any utilities. And then eventually moved out. And the owner went to go open utilities in their name somewhere else. And they were hit with like a $6,000 bill. And the utility company said, we're not going to give you utilities until you pay this bill. And the owner figured out, what the bill was for, where it was for, and knew the situation. And had to file a police report and said, hey, my identity was stolen and this wasn't mine. So ultimately, the utility company said, hey, you're not going to have to pay it because this was, in fact, not your bill. That, we understand that your identity was stolen, yada, yada, yada. So that is actually, as far as the landlord saying the prior tenant didn't pay it, I wouldn't be surprised by that if it was in the tenant's name and they didn't pay it. If it was in his name and the tenant didn't pay their portion to him, different story. He's got to pay it. If they had the utilities in their name and then just bailed on a bill, then it is possible the utility company goes, hey, we're not going to turn on service until we get paid our utilities. So that does happen.
Responsibility. So
Yeah, but did they pay it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, you feel that he's stole your stuff? What is it you feel?
The only way into the apartment.
Show me the police report.
Okay.
Do you believe that... Where's the police report?
That's what I got from the 7th precinct.
This is nothing. This is not a police report. This is you asking for a police report. Where's the police report?
That's exactly everything that they told me to
Well,
give to
that's
the court.
useless to me. Do you know whether the police were called that day? Like
Yes, because my
you
friend
know 'cause
actually
your
told
friend
them.
said.
Yes, and they had said that there was a PlayStation stolen.
And that's it?
That's all she said to
Where's
me.
your friend? Is your friend here?
No, she's in Florida.
Okay.
I do-
And now all of a sudden it's a PlayStation, a TV
But
set,
apparently, when I had spoken to her, and she said the police came back a second time.
and they gave him a big list of other things?
Correct.
Right. Because somebody would notice a PlayStation but not the 60-inch TV? Okay. Let's go over what you're suing for. You are suing...
For the theft, depending on the jurisdiction of the law, but a lot of the times your stuff as a tenant is not protected by the landlord. So if your stuff is in the unit and then your stuff gets stolen, the landlord's not responsible for that unless the landlord stole it. There might be an argument here that the landlord was negligent for not fixing the window. Maybe that's how someone got in. So I can see the tenant being pissed off at the landlord, like the window's not fixed. And so someone was able to just get right into the unit and steal all my stuff. And, you know, someone could have just walked by and seen who was in there. Someone could have maybe noticed that the habits of these people, these tenants coming and going, realizing, oh, they don't actually live there. So in the middle of the night, they're not going to be there. We'll take their stuff. So again, really bad situation to be in where you're moving your stuff into a place that doesn't have electricity. The window is broken. And you're not living there. So there's a great, amount of time, which is throughout the day and all night, that no one's in the unit. And so it's very easy to break in and steal someone's stuff. If the landlord, as far as him being responsible, I don't know if he's going to be responsible for that or not.
For rent and security back, and you want all of the things that you say were stolen now, which you say are a microphone, a laptop, a $400 camera, a bunch of games, your PlayStation, a 60-inch TV. All right, and your moving costs. Your moving costs are $180. Can I see proof of that?
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, where do you get all these figures? Do you have any proof of that?
I did basically go online and I looked up the models.
Let me see.
Well, I can.
Oh.
I can
Oh,
put
you
it up
just
there.
trust you?
Yeah, we could do a web search.
We
and look it
could.
up.
So when you're in court, the judge, you can't assume the judge knows what a PlayStation is worth or a TV is worth or a camera is worth. So if you're going to go to court and say, hey, my stuff was stolen and I think it's worth this much money, you have to have it. Hey, here's the printout from Best Buy that this is what my PlayStation, my TV, my camera, my mic, my games are all worth. If I had to go replace them, this is what's going to cost me, from Best Buy, so to speak. You can't just go, well, I could look it up. Well, no, your moment is now. You're in court. This is the moment that the lookup should have already been done. You should have that printed out to show the judge this is what all this stuff is going to cost to replace.
But we aren't, because you are supposed to do that. But, all right. What is this now?
That is the U-Haul receipt when you go to check.
There we go. Okay, so the total of this, though, is $116.82. Why are you suing for $180?
Well, for help that helped move us. We had
Prove it.
That I can't.
Okay. I got it. All right, here's what I think. I think that you should get the following back. $2,100, because you can't rent a place that doesn't have electricity, even if you meant well and they knew it. Everybody, including you, thought it was going to be 2 or 3 days. I'm also going to order you to pay the moving costs that they can prove, which is $116.82, for a total of $2,216.82. Regarding all of the things that were stolen, that's kind of on you. You're supposed to have renter's insurance. If you don't, it's on you. Especially it's on you when there's nothing the landlord did wrong. You are completely asking me to speculate that he stole your stuff when you have a broken window in the back, which you have admitted is a broken window in the back that you knew about. You shouldn't have had a bunch of electronics there. So that's my verdict, $2,216.82. Verdict to the plaintiff, plus, of course, the court costs.
Thank you.
It's really annoying outcome for the tenant because it really sucks that his stuff was stolen. That's, why the renter insurance exists. Every tenant should get renter insurance. I think that the landlord should have never rented the place. And I think the landlord should have fixed the window right away. He shouldn't have advertised that it was for rent. Or maybe, he didn't realize there was going to be an issue with electricity. And once the issue came to light, he should either take the listing down or been very forthcoming with an applicant and said, hey, the electricity's not on, I'm working on it. I don't know. Doesn't matter what the lease says. I understand what the judge is saying. Give the security deposit back. The guy, you rented a place to this couple and you didn't have any electricity. So in this situation, it really, really sucks for the tenant because ultimately the tenant stuff got stolen. And I would, advise really every tenant to get renter's insurance. The policies are, between $100 and $200 a year, and it's worth it. It's worth having that. And if you have renter's insurance, I dealt with this in a case before. You should have photos of all your stuff. It sounds, like cumbersome, but you should take photos of all your stuff. Keep receipts of everything that you've bought, especially expensive items. If it's expensive jewelry, if it's expensive electronics, expensive clothing, keep all of that. Keep photos of it, keep the receipts. And if it's in there and it's stolen, then you have a better chance with the insurance to get your money back. If you have, $100,000 worth of stuff, make sure you have $100,000 worth of insurance. If you don't, what ends up happening is the insurance will limit how much you get back. So if $20,000 worth of stuff was stolen, but your insurance is only 10 grand, you're only going to get the 10 grand back for the stuff that's stolen. So make sure that you itemize your stuff, that you have a really good accounting of it, that you have receipts and records of it. And then you get adequate coverage for the stuff that you have. Excuse me. That being said, another learning lesson, multiple learning lessons here. If you found this valuable, you might find my other reaction videos valuable. You might also find my newsletter valuable that I send every Sunday. Free to sign up. Link should be below. Other than that, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you on the next one.